Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 is a 2011 fantasy film directed by David Yates and distributed by Warner Bros. Pictures. It is the second of two cinematic parts based on the novel Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows by J.K. Rowling. The film, which is the eighth and final installment in the Harry Potter film series, was written by Steve Kloves and produced by David Heyman, David Barron, and Rowling. The story continues to follow Harry Potter's quest to find and destroy Lord Voldemort's Horcruxes. The film stars Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter, alongside Rupert Grint and Emma Watson as Harry's best friends, Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. Principal photography began on February 19, 2009, and was completed on June 12, 2010, with reshoots taking place in December 2010, marking the series' closure of 10 years of filming. Part 2 was released in 2D, 3D and IMAX cinemas worldwide from July 15, 2011, and is the only Harry Potter film to be released in 3D. The film became a financial success and was one of the best-reviewed films of 2011. At the box office, Part 2 claimed the worldwide opening weekend record, earning $483.2 million, as well as setting opening day and opening weekend records in various countries. As of 2014, the film is the fourth highest-grossing film of all time, the highest-grossing film of 2011, the highest-grossing film in the Harry Potter series, and the ninth film to gross over $1 billion. The Blu-ray and DVD sets were released on November 11, 2011 in the United States and on December 2, 2011 in the United Kingdom. The film was also released in the Harry Potter Complete 8-film collection box set on DVD and Blu-ray, which included all 8 films and new special features. Part 1 and Part 2 were released as a combo pack on DVD and Blu-ray on November 11, 2011 in Canada. Plot: Lord Voldemort steals the powerful Elder Wand from Albus Dumbledore's tomb. After burying Dobby, Harry Potter asks the Goblin Griphook to help him, Ron, and Hermione to break into Bellatrix Lestrange's vault at Gringotts Bank, suspecting a Horcrux may be there. Griphook agrees in exchange for the Sword of Gryffindor. Wandmaker Ollivander tells Harry that 2 wands taken from Malfoy Manor belonged to Bellatrix and to Draco Malfoy, but Malfoy's has changed its allegiance to Harry. In Bellatrix's vault, Harry discovers that the Horcrux is Helga Hufflepuff's cup. He retrieves it, but Griphook snatches the sword of Godric Gryffindor and abandons the trio, leaving them cornered by security. The three release the Dragon Guardian and flee on its back. Harry sees a vision of Voldemort killing goblins, including Griphook, and learns Voldemort is aware of the theft. Harry also realizes there is a Horcrux at Hogwarts connected to Rowena Ravenclaw. The trio uproot to Hogsmeade, where Aberforth Dumbledore instructs the portrait of his deceased younger sister, Ariana, to fetch Neville Longbottom, who leads the trio through a secret passageway into the Room of Requirement at Hogwarts, where many of their close friends have been hiding out and secretly fighting back against the dark forces that have taken over the school. Snape hears of Harry's return and warns staff and students of punishment for aiding Harry. Harry confronts Snape, who flees after Minerva McGonagall challenges him to a duel. McGonagall gathers the Hogwarts community for battle. At Luna Lovegood's insistence, Harry speaks to Helena Ravenclaw's ghost, who reveals that Voldemort performed dark magic on her mother's diadem, which is in the Room of Requirement. In the Chamber of Secrets, Ron encourages Hermione to destroy the Horcrux cup with a basilisk fang. Afterward, the two share a passionate kiss. In the Room of Requirement, Draco, Gregory Goyle and Blaise Zabini attack Harry, but Ron and Hermione intervene. Goyle casts a Fiendfire curse and, unable to control it, is burned to death while Harry and his friends save Malfoy and Zabini. Harry stabs the diadem with the basilisk fang, and Ron kicks it into the Room of Requirement, where it is destroyed. As Voldemort's forces attack, Harry, seeing into Voldemort's mind, realizes that Voldemort's snake Nijni is the final Horcrux. After entering the boathouse, the trio witness Voldemort telling Snape that the Elder Wand cannot serve Voldemort until Snape dies. He then orders Nijni to kill Snape. Before dying, Snape tells Harry to take his memories to the Pensieve. In the chaos at Hogwarts, Frederick Weasley, Remus Lupin, and Nymphadora Tonks, among others, have been killed. Harry learns from Snape's memories that Snape loved Harry's late mother, Lily, but despised his father, James, who had bullied him. Following her death, Snape worked secretly with Dumbledore to protect Harry from Voldemort because of his deep feelings for Lily. Harry also learns that Dumbledore's death at Snape's hands was planned between them, and that the Patronus stone he saw in the woods that led him to the sword had been conjured by Snape. Harry discovers that he himself became a Horcrux when Voldemort originally failed to kill him and that Harry must die to destroy the piece of Voldemort's soul within him. Harry goes to die at the hands of Voldemort in the Forbidden Forest. He briefly speaks to his dead loved ones before facing Voldemort. Voldemort casts the killing curse upon Harry, who finds himself in limbo, where Dumbledore's spirit meets him and explains that the part of Voldemort within Harry was killed by Voldemort's own curse. Due to Voldemort killing the Horcrux inside Harry, he is able to return to his body, determined to defeat Voldemort once and for all. Voldemort announces Harry's apparent death to everyone at Hogwarts and forewarns that anyone who defies him will be killed. Neville ignores Voldemort's warnings and states that Harry will live on in their hearts. Harry reveals he is still alive and duels with Voldemort throughout the castle. A general battle begins as Molly Weasley watches Ginny Weasley nearly get killed by Bellatrix during a duel, loses her temper and then engages, petrifies and kills Bellatrix. A defiant Neville draws the sword of Gryffindor from the sorting hat and decapitates Nijni, leaving Voldemort mortal. The final stand of Harry and Voldemort's fight is Harry's disarming charm rebounding Voldemort's own killing curse and obliterating him. After the battle, Harry explains to Ron and Hermione that the Elder Wand recognized him as its true master because he had disarmed Draco, who earlier had disarmed its previous owner, Dumbledore, which then explains why the wand didn't kill Harry in his final battle with Voldemort. Harry snaps the Elder Wand and throws it into a chasm, rejecting its power. 19 years later, Harry and Ginny Potter and Ron and Hermione Weasley, along with Draco and his wife Astoria Malfoy, proudly watch their own children leaving for Hogwarts from King's Cross Station. Cast: Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter. Rupert Grint as Ron Weasley, Harry's best friend. Emma Watson as Hermione Granger, Harry's best friend. Helena Bonham Carter as Bellatrix Lestrange, a Death Eater and Sirius Black's cousin and murderer. Robbie Coltrane as Rubeus Hagrid, Harry's half-giant friend and a former staff at Hogwarts. Warwick Davis as Phileas Flitwick, the Charms Master and head of the Ravenclaw house at Hogwarts. And Griphook, a goblin and former employee at Gringotts Bank. Tom Felton as Draco Malfoy, a Death Eater and son of Lucius and Narcia Malfoy. Ralph Fiennes as Lord Voldemort, an evil, power-hungry wizard, and the leader of the Death Eaters. Michael Gambon as Albus Dumbledore, the late headmaster of Hogwarts. John Hurt as Mr. Ollivander, a wandmaker abducted by the Death Eaters. Jason Isaacs as Lucius Malfoy, Draco Malfoy's father and a disgraced Death Eater. Kelly MacDonald as Helena Ravenclaw, the ghost of Ravenclaw at Hogwarts. Gary Oldman as Sirius Black, Harry's late godfather. Alan Rickman as Severus Snape, former Potions and Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher and a new headmaster of Hogwarts. Maggie Smith as Minerva McGonagall, the Transfiguration teacher and the head of the Gryffindor house at Hogwarts. David Thuley as Remus Lupin, a member of the Order of the Phoenix and a former Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher at Hogwarts. Julie Walters as Molly Weasley, the Weasley matriarch. Bonnie Wright as Ginny Weasley, Ron's younger sister and supporting female lead. Casting: the roles of several minor characters were recast or replaced for this film. Ciara N. Hines assumes the role of Aberforth Dumbledore, Albus Dumbledore's brother and bartender of the Hogshead Inn. In the book, a significant number of characters who have not appeared since some of the earlier novels, reappear to fight to defend Hogwarts in the large, final battle. Director David Yates said, "I want to get them all back," referring to his desire to bring back as many actors who have appeared in the franchise as possible for the climactic battle sequence in the film. Sean Biggerstaff, Jim Broadbent, Gemma Jones, Miriam Margolyes, and Emma Thompson reprised their roles from earlier films briefly during the battle scene. For the final scene in the film, which is set 19 years after the film's main story, the actors playing the main characters were made to look older through the use of makeup and special effects not once but twice. The second being after the characters' aged photos leaked onto the internet. Production. Part 2 was filmed back-to-back with Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 from February 19, 2009 to June 12, 2010, with reshoots for the epilogue scene taking place at Leavesden Film Studios on December 21, 2010. Director David Yates, who shot the film with director of photography Eduardo Serra, described Part 2 as operatic, colorful and fantasy-oriented, a big opera with huge battles. Sets. In an interview with Architectural Digest, production designer Stuart Craig remarked on creating sets for Part 2. Of the Gringotts Wizarding Bank, he said, "Our banking hall, like any other, is made of marble and big marble columns. And it has great strength. The fact that the goblins are the bankers and tellers at the counter helps that feeling of grandeur and solidity in the big proportions. That was part of the fun of the set. We exaggerated the size of it, we exaggerated the weight of it, and we even exaggerated the shine of the marble." About the multiplication of treasure in one of the bank's vaults, he noted, "We made literally thousands of pieces for it and vacuum metallized them to be shiny gold and silver." John Richardson, the special effects supervisor, made a floor that was capable of rising on different levels, so there was kind of a physical swelling of the treasure on it. Craig spoke about the Battle of Hogwarts to Art Insights magazine, saying that the great challenge is the destruction of Hogwarts. The sun rising behind the smoke. The massive remains of destroyed walls, the entrance hall, the entrance of the Great Hall, part of the roof of the Great Hall completely gone, so yeah. A big challenge there and an enjoyable one really. Maybe it helped me and the guys in the art department sort of prepare for the end. We demolished it before we had to strike it completely. When asked about the King's Cross scene at the end of the film, Craig said, "We experimented a lot, quite honestly. I mean, it was quite a protracted process really, but we did experiment, the sense of it being very burnt out, very kind of white so we experimented with underlit floors, we experimented with different kind of white covering everything, white paint, white fabric, and the cameraman was involved in how much to expose it, and a series of camera tests were done, so we got there but with a great deal of preparation and research." Visual effects supervisor Tim Burke said that it was such a major job to stage the Battle of Hogwarts, and we had to do it in different stages of production. We had shots with complex linking camera moves from wide overviews, to flying into windows and interior spaces. So, we took the plunge at the end of 2008, and started rebuilding the school digitally with double negative. He went on to say that it's taken 2 years getting renders out, texturing every facet of the building, constructing interiors to see through windows, building a destruction version of the school. We can design shots with the knowledge that we have this brilliant digital miniature that we can do anything with. With a practical Hogwarts, we would have shot it last summer and been so tied down. Instead, as David Yates finds the flow and structure, we are able to handle new concepts and ideas. On the quality of 3D in film, Burke told Los Angeles Times, "I think it's good, actually. I think people are going to be really pleased. I know everyone's a little nervous and skeptical of 3D these days, but the work has been done very, very well. We've done over 200 shots in 3D and in the visual effects as well, because so much of it is CG, so the results are very, very good. I think everyone's going to be really impressed with it, actually." Producer David Heyman spoke to SFX magazine about the 3D conversion, saying that the way David Yates is approaching 3D is he's trying to approach it from a character and story point of view. Trying to use the sense of isolation, of separation that sometimes 3D gives you, to heighten that at appropriate moments. So we're approaching it in a storytelling way. In 2012, the visual effects in Deathly Hallows, Part 2 were nominated for an Oscar. The film also won the BAFTA Award for Best Special Visual Effects at the 65th BAFTA Awards in 2012. Music. It was confirmed that Part 1 composer, Alexander Desplat, was set to return for Part 2. In an interview with Film Music magazine, Desplat stated that scoring Part 2 is a great challenge, and that he has a lot of expectations to fulfill and a great deal of work ahead of him. In a separate interview, Desplat also made note that John Williams' themes will be present in the film much more than in Part 1. Writing for the film's musical score began in early 2011 by Desplat, who finished recording it with orchestrator Conrad Pope and the London Symphony Orchestra on May 27, 2011, at Abbey Road Studios. The soundtrack for the film was nominated for Best Score Soundtrack for Visual Media at the 54th Annual Grammy Awards. Distribution. Marketing. In March 2011 the first preview for Deathly Hallows Part 2 was released, revealing new footage and new interviews from the starring cast. The first US poster was released on March 28, 2011, with the caption "It All Ends 7.15. On April 27, 2011 the first theatrical trailer for Part 2 was released. The trailer revealed a range of new and old footage. The IMAX trailer for the film was released with IMAX screenings of Pirates of the Caribbean, on Stranger Tides on May 20, 2011. During the MTV Movie Awards on June 5, 2011, Emma Watson presented a sneak peek of the film. Theatrical release. On April 2, 2011 a test screening of the film was held in Chicago. Director David Yates, producers David Heyman and David Barron and the film's editor Mark Day were in attendance. The film had its world premiere on 7 July 2011, July 7, 2011, in Trafalgar Square in London. The US premiere was held in New York City at Lincoln Center on 11 July 2011, July 11, 2011. Although filmed in 2D, the film was converted into 3D in post-production and was released in both RealD 3D and IMAX 3D. The film was originally scheduled to open in Indonesia on July 13, 2011. However, the Indonesian government levied a new value-added tax on royalties from foreign films in February 2011, causing 3 film studios, including Warner Brothers, to halt the importation of their films, including Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 into the country. Cinema owners hope to have Harry Potter on their screens by the end of July, barring a continuation of the dispute. The film was not released to cinemas in the Kingdom of Jordan due to recently enforced taxes on films. It had not been premiered in the kingdom as of August 13, 2011. On June 10, 1 month before the film's release, tickets went on sale. On June 16, 2011 Part 2 received a 12A certificate from the British Board of Film Classification, who note that the film contains moderate threat, injury detail and language, becoming the only Harry Potter film to receive a warning for injury detail. At midnight July 15, Part 2 screened in 3,800 cinemas. In the United States, it played in 4,375 cinemas, 3,100 3D cinemas and 274 IMAX cinemas, the widest release for an IMAX, 3D and a Harry Potter film. Home media. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 was released on November 11, 2011 in the United States in 4 formats, a 1-disc standard DVD, a 2-disc standard DVD special edition, a 1-disc standard Blu-ray, and 3-disc Blu-ray 2D combo pack. In the UK and Ireland, the film was released on December 2, 2011 in 3 formats, a 2-disc standard DVD, a 3-disc Blu-ray 2D combo pack, and a 4-disc Blu-ray 3D combo pack. The film set the record for fastest-selling pre-order DVD and Blu-ray on Amazon.com, just 2 days into the pre-order period. Deathly Hallows, Part 2 sold 2.71 million Blu-ray units in 3 days. It also sold 2.83 million DVD units during its debut. By July 18, 2012 it had sold 4.71 million Blu-ray units and 6.47 million DVD units. Reception. Critical response. The film received universal critical acclaim. As of November 2012 on the review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, The film had an overall approval rating of 96% based on 280 reviews and an average score of 8.4/10. The site describes the film as thrilling, powerfully acted, and visually dazzling. Deathly Hallows Part 2 brings the Harry Potter franchise to a satisfying and suitably magical conclusion. On Metacritic, which assigns a normalized rating out of 100 based on individual reviews, the film achieved an average of 87 based on 41 reviews, signifying universal acclaim. The film received a score of 93 from professional critics at the Broadcast Film Critics Association. It is the organization's highest-rated Harry Potter film. Audiences surveyed by CinemaScore gave the film a grade on average. Philip Womack in the Daily Telegraph commented, "This is monumental cinema, awash with gorgeous tones, and carrying an ultimate message that will resonate with every viewer, young or old. There is darkness in all of us, but we can overcome it." He further expressed that David Yates transmutes the book into a genuinely terrifying spectacle. Another review was released on the same day from Evening Standard, who rated the film 4 out of 5 and stated millions of children, parents, and those who should know better won't need reminding what a Horcrux is and director David Yates does not let them down. In fact, in some ways, he helps make up for the shortcomings of the final book. The Daily Express remarked that the film showcases a terrifying showdown that easily equals Lord of the Rings or Star Wars in terms of a dramatic and memorable battle between good and evil. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times gave the film 3.1 out of 4 stars and said, "The finale conjures up enough awe and solemnity to serve as an appropriate finale and a dramatic contrast to the light-hearted innocence of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone all those magical years ago." Mark Kermode from the BBC said that the film is a pretty solid and ambitious adaptation of a very complex book, but he criticised the post-converted 3D Christy Lemire of the Associated Press gave the film 3.1 out of 4 stars and said while Deathly Hallows, Part 2 offers long-promised answers, it also dares to pose some eternal questions, and it'll stay with you after the final chapter has closed. Richard Roper, also from the Chicago Sun-Times, gave the film an A+ rating and said that this is a masterful and worthy final chapter in one of the best franchises ever put to film. In one of the few negative reviews, Brian Gibson of View Weekly described the movie as deadly dull, and a visual overstatement. Other reviews criticized the decision to split the novel into 2 cinematic parts, with Ben Mortimer of the Daily Telegraph writing Deathly Hallows Part 2 isn't a film. It's half a filmer. It's going to feel somewhat emotionless. Other critics wrote of the film's runtime. Alonzo Duralde from The Wrap said, "If there's one substantial flaw to the film, it's that this cavalcade of people and places and objects can barely fit in the 130-minute running time." Rebecca Gilley from The Oxford Student gave the film 2 out of 5 stars and wrote, "At the end of the film there is nothing that stays with you once you've left the cinema." Box office, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 grossed $381,011,219 in the United States and Canada, along with $960,500,000 in other markets, for a worldwide total of $1,341,511,219. In worldwide earnings, it is the 4th highest-grossing film, the highest-grossing 2011 film, the highest-grossing film in the Harry Potter franchise and the highest-grossing children's book adaptation. Part 2 set a worldwide opening weekend record with $483.2 a million. It also set a worldwide IMAX opening weekend record with $23.2 a million. In worldwide earnings, it is the fastest film to reach $400 million, $500 million, $600 million, $700 million, $800 million, $900 million, and $1 a billion. On July 31, 2011, it became the 9th film in cinematic history and the second in 2011 to surpass the $1 billion mark. Outside North America, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 is the 3rd highest-grossing film, the highest-grossing 2011 film, the highest-grossing Warner Brothers film and the highest-grossing Harry Potter film. On its opening day, Deathly Hallows a Euro Part 2 grossed $43.6 million from 26 countries, placing it 86% ahead of Deathly Hallows a Euro Part 1 and 49% higher than Half-Blood Prince. From Wednesday until Sunday, on its 5-day opening weekend, it set an opening weekend record outside North America by earning $314 million. The average 3D share of Deathly Hallows a Euro Part 2 was 60%, which was lower than the 3D share for Transformers, Dark of the Moon and On Stranger Tides. It reached $300 million, $400 million, $500 million and $600 million in record time. On its second weekend, it held to the top spot, but fell precipitously by 62% to $120.2 million despite minor competition. This amount is about the same as what On Stranger Tides made from its second weekend. Deathly Hallows a Euro Part 2 was in first place at the box office outside North America for 4 consecutive weekends. In the UK, Ireland and Malta it brought in a record $14.8 million on its first day. On its opening weekend, it earned a £23,753,171, marking the second largest opening weekend in local currency behind Harry Potter and The Prisoner of Azkaban. However, in US dollars, its opening weekend was an all-time record $38.3 million, ahead of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. The film also achieved the biggest single-day gross ever and the largest opening week with $57.6 million. The film made a total of £73.1 million at the UK box office, marking the 5th highest grossing film. It also is the highest grossing film of 2011 and highest grossing Harry Potter film. Deathly Hallows a Euro Part 2 also set opening day records Mexico, Australia, France and the Maghreb region, Italy, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, the Netherlands, Belgium, the Czech Republic, Argentina, Finland and Hong Kong. It also established new Harry Potter opening day records in Japan, Brazil, Russia and the CIS, Spain and Poland. Deathly Hallows a Euro Part 2 set opening weekend records in India with 15 crores, Australia with $19.6 million, New Zealand with $2.46 million, Brazil with $11.6 million, Scandinavia with $18.5 million, Mexico with $15.9 million and many other Latin American and European countries. North America. In North America, it is the 18th highest grossing film, the highest grossing 2011 film, the highest grossing Harry Potter film, the highest grossing children's book adaptation, the highest grossing fantasy live-action film and the 4th highest grossing 3D film. It set new records in advance ticket sales with $32 million, in its midnight opening with $43.5 million and in its IMAX midnight opening with $2 million. It grossed $91.1 million on its opening Friday, setting a Friday gross record as well as single and opening day records. It also set an opening weekend record with $169.2 million, an IMAX opening weekend record of $15.2 million and opening weekend record for a 3D film. Although 3D enhanced the film's earning potential, only 43% of the opening gross came from 3D venues. This means only $72.8 million of the opening weekend grosses originated from 3D showings, the second largest number behind Alice in Wonderland's $81.3 million. It also scored the largest 3-day and 4-day gross. It also scored the third highest grossing opening week with $226.2 million, and even the fourth largest 7-day gross. It fell precipitously by 84% on its second Friday and by 72% during its second weekend overall, grossing $47.4 million, which is the largest second weekend drop for any film that opened to more than $50 million. Still, it managed to become the fastest grossing film in the franchise and also achieved the second largest 10-day gross ever. In its third weekend, the movie surpassed Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone to become the highest grossing film of the franchise in North America. Records. At the time of his release, the film held the following US-Canadian box office records. It also holds the following international box office records. Accolades. The film garnered a number of accolades and nominations. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows: A Euro Part 2 was nominated for Best Art Direction, Best Makeup, and Best Visual Effects at the 84th Academy Awards. The film won the BAFTA Award for Best Visual Effects at the 65th BAFTA Awards, and was also nominated in 3 other categories for Best Sound, Best Production Design and Best Makeup and Hair, and was longlisted in 8 other categories including Best Cinematography and Best Original Score. There was nominated for Best Score Soundtrack for Visual Media at the 54th Annual Grammy Awards in 2012 and won a Screen Actors Guild Award for Outstanding Performance by a Stunt Ensemble in a Motion Picture. The film scored 10 nominations at the annual Saturn Awards, winning for Best Fantasy Film, and received a total of 14 nominations at the annual Scream Awards, winning in the following categories: Best Screenplay, Best Fantasy Actor to Daniel Radcliffe, Best Villain to Ralph Fiennes, Best FX and Holy Shit Scene of the Year. References. External links. Official website, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows: A Euro Part 2 at the Internet Movie Database, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows: A Euro Part 2 at AllMovie, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows: A Euro Part 2 at Rotten Tomatoes, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows: A Euro Part 2 at Box Office Mojo, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows: A Euro Part 2 at The Numbers,